Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to answer which one is the better stock to buy. Is it Palantir or is it Fiverr? To answer this question, I'm going to compare these two on their latest earnings results. I'm also going to look at valuation, and I'm also going to look at revenue, cash flow, and operating profit margin over the longer term, not just the most recent quarter. But to get started, let's look at the most recent quarter's earnings results. Palantir total revenue increased by 13% to 533 million, and operating income of 10 million was a huge improvement from the loss of 41.745 million in the prior year. Palantir is still having difficulty with commercial customers, with revenue growing just 10% to 232 million. Palantir has a better job gaining traction with government institutions. Cash flow from operations almost tripled to 277 million. That was a huge burst from the 97.9 million in the first 6 months of last year. So tremendous progress from Palantir's profitability and cash flow, even though revenue growth is decelerating. For Fiverr, similar story with revenue growing 5.1% to 89.4 million. Earnings per share of a 1 penny was a massive improvement from the loss per share of $1.13 last year. Active buyers and spend per buyers were unremarkable here, with flat buyer growth and just 2% increase in the spend per buyer, although the take rate did increase by 90 basis points to 31% almost. Cash flow from operations more than doubled to 18.7 million, up from 7 million in the same quarter the prior year. Now, management has raised its forecast for revenue growth twice already this year, now forecasting third quarter revenue growth of 10% and overall 2023 revenue growth of 7%. That was the knock on Fiverr stock, was that revenue growth was decelerating significantly, but that has now turned around and revenue growth is accelerating for Fiverr in 2023. Now let's look at longer term trends in terms of revenue and operating profitability and more. First, let's start with revenue, and clearly you can see here Palantir demonstrating much better revenue growth, growing from a little over 150 million in revenue per quarter in early 2020 up all the way to 533 million in its most recent quarter. Fiverr, meanwhile, has also grown revenue, but not as quickly as Palantir, increasing its revenue to 89 million in the most recent quarter. Both companies have longer term excellent prospects in terms of growth in revenue, while Palantir may have faster growth prospects than Fiverr does, at least in the near term. The next thing I wanted to look at is their operating profit margin over the trailing 12 months. And in this metric, they are very close, although Palantir has a clear advantage in terms of trend. You can see Palantir increasing their operating profitability rapidly here from negative 120% all the way to negative 3.22%, ahead of Fiverr at negative 7.54%. Palantir has also been improving its operating profit margin, although not as quickly as Palantir has. The next thing I wanted to compare is the cash flow from operations to sales. This excludes some non-cash expenses like stock-based compensation and depreciation, metrics that are meaningful for tech companies especially. And in this metric, again, Palantir better than Fiverr at 19.73% compared to 13.86%. Again, both companies showing nice improvement in terms of their trend of increasing the ratios. So far, in all the ratios that we've looked at, including the latest quarterly results, Palantir has been meaningfully better than Fiverr. So the last thing we're going to look at is valuation. And judging by what we've looked at so far, given that Palantir has demonstrated better performance than Fiverr, if their valuation is equal, I'm going to go with Palantir just because it's the better performing company, and if it's selling at the same price, then I'm going to pick that stock. But let's see what the prices are. So the valuation I chose to use was the forward price to earnings ratio. And according to this metric, prices are not the same, not even close. Palantir is more than 4 times more expensive than Fiverr. Palantir stock is trading at a forward PE of 58.85, while Fiverr stock is trading at a forward PE of 13.83. Now, given this significant valuation difference, I'm going to pick Fiverr as the better stock to buy because I think it's selling too much of a discount compared to Palantir, even though I will admit Palantir is the better company, the better financial performing company. I can't justify a more than 4x premium to Fiverr given the relationships we looked at, given the performance relationships we looked at across the board. So I did give Palantir the advantage in terms of performance, but it was just too much of a gap in terms of valuation to justify going with Palantir over Fiverr. So Fiverr would be my choice for the better stock to buy between these two right now. All right, but that's all I've got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.